Hi guys, I want to share with you a selection of bespoke handbags that I'm in the process of making. I recently shared with you my original. This was my first handbag that I made, and it started because I wanted to use up my fabric paper that I'd actually made. And I've got some wool blankets, I've got little odds and ends that I've literally rust and eco stained, and this was my very first bag that I made, and I shared it with you in my last video. But I've moved on from this particular bag. In my collection I had some more vintage keys, which is a godsend, plus I also found I had some little padded tea bags, and I've made another bag very similar out of like a simple sewing pattern, which is just a sewn pocket. I've got my vintage key here, I've got padded tea bags here, so this little tea bag here has been stamped on a little bit of quilting and some hand stitching. I've got vintage ephemera here. For the actual handles, I've just found an old vintage tape, and I just thought this would be absolutely adorable for the handle. The back of this one is actually grunged up. This is a cotton fabric that's been coffee stained and just left to dry, and I've run the tea bags along the outer edge, this time thinking a little bit more constructively about how to put my bag together. And as you can see, for the moment it's just got some bubble wrap just to give it a little bit more definition, as if I had something inside. This is fabric paper, it's got tea bags underneath, and this has got tissue paper over the top, which I literally did some stamping with some stays on ink, and then I applied some decorative tea bags over the top. I have then taken to moving on a little bit more. Now this is my own personal bag that I've made, so this is my own handbag. It's obviously more dedicated for the winter months because it's got a lovely furry feel about it, but I thought I would like something with some sides on, using my wool blanket again, and I wanted to make a mock-up this time. So I didn't want to undo this handbag, but what I've done is laid it down and used it as a template. So here is my mock-up handbag on the left hand side. So this is what I've produced, yet again using rust-stained fabric, a wool blanket, so I'm still using that blanket. I'm piecing it together. We've got more fabric that's been rust-stained, but not so badly here. We've got a back pocket. We've got this front pocket. I took this excuse me, took this flower off of a skirt, so this is just being glued on, and yet again for the moment it's just got some grungy fabric in there. So you can see I am playing around. I've got this trim that I've had in my collection. I'm a short individual, so the luxury of making my own bags at present moment is the fact that I can actually make my handles ideally to my particular size, because as I say, I haven't got all the attachments and buckles to play around with. So this is literally a mock-up, so this is why I've left all the threads for the moment. I haven't cut any of them off, and I also trying to piece two pieces of blanket together rather than doing one particular long sheet of integral fabric. It's a little difficult when you're using a bag as a mock-up and you can't actually take the pieces away to make a pattern. Now the purpose of making the mock-up is so I can use some of my tea bag fabric. On the back here you can see some cling film that was put there to protect my surfaces. I put it outside to dry. Typically me, it's still got the cling film stuck to the back of it for the moment. And this is just literally cotton fabric, we call it calico, with round tea bags that have been glued over the top. Over the top you can make a decision if you want to leave it just as it is. As you can see, this has got lovely different textures in it. And this was the reason why I'd done a mock-up with my bag. I didn't want to cut into my tea bag fabric until I knew what I was doing. The glues that I've used, white PVA glue, works really well with tea bags, being glued down onto the fabric. Or I've also got a pot of Mod Podge. I did one with Mod Podge, about the similar size, one with white glue. So you've got choices there. To get a nice luster, to make it more resistant, I have got a video on this acrylic wax. You apply this over the top. It comes from Art Van Gogh, which they do deliveries at present moment in the current circumstances. So you can look them up, or you can go to my video and that will explain what acrylic wax is. Or you could finish this also with beeswax. That'll make it much more durable. You can, as I said, leave it as is, or you can apply tissue paper. This can be glued over the top, and depending on how thick your tissue paper is will depend on how much will come through. But I do like the fact that this particular tissue paper was produced by Paper Chase. I can't get hold of any more currently of a similar design on from Paper Chase, but you can do Decopatch. There are a few other companies doing tissue paper. Once this is glued over the top, you start to get the tea bags showing through, and as you can see, it's just a little bit tacky there. Reason for making everything out of a wool blanket, well, it doesn't fray, and that it will fray eventually, but it's so much more durable and it's got a lot of give. So I can, my sewing skills are all pretty new at present moment, and I can literally manoeuvre and manipulate this particular blanket, especially when you're going round corners, because as I said, I am no seamstress and everything here is just being made up. I'm learning as I go along what to do, how to do it, and without practice, and it is practice that makes perfect. It was a bit like this particular piece of tape. I didn't like the actual fibres showing, so that's why I run some blanket all the way around the handle. Plus it also gave me much more stability, and it hangs much nicer when on my shoulder. Well guys, I hope that has just been a brief overview of some of the things I'm currently working on. The vintage ephemera that I'm trying to incorporate into it at present moment, I still think that this one definitely gets the top marks at present moment. This is definitely my favourite bag, but I'm going to go on to trying to make this one out of the fabric that we got below, and I'm going to leave it without any tissue paper, and we're going to see where we go from there. Thanks ever so much for all your comments, and I will catch up with you soon. Bye bye.